Well, clearly, as one of the co-sponsors of this legislation, I want to thank Senator Norris for his initiative in bringing this legislation before the House, and to thank those who inspired him to do so, particularly the Mountjoy Residents Association and other conservationists in Dublin. I want to welcome the Minister to the House here today. A few points have occurred to me in relation to conservation of our heritage. One is, as Senator Fitzpatrick was mentioning, Mountjoy Square. It's a square which I have a kind of a connection with, in that my father was born in one of the houses in Mountjoy Square at the time when it was beginning its nosedive into neglect. Sometime in, he was born in 1912. But the thing is that by the 1970s, I'd say 60s or 70s, one whole side of the square was in a state of ruin and had collapsed completely. And happily, at that time, it was considered perfectly right to reinstate the facades so that at least the integrity of the square was recreated. And there wasn't any pointy-nosed blather about pastiche architecture or whatever. It was just done, and I agree with Senator Fitzpatrick. The result is extremely pleasant, and now that the square itself has been revitalised, I'm talking about the open ground in the middle of the square. You know, it is now a place which is up and coming, and its future is now guaranteed. But I can tell you, I remember when I was a student, looking around it and thinking, this is a disaster. It looked more like a part of East Berlin rather than anywhere else. And while we're on that subject, the ESB buildings on Fitzwilliam Street, they're an improvement on what was there before, but it's a pity that Deputy Jim O'Callaghan's proposal, which was that the actual facades would be reinstated, wasn't done, because although Grafton architects have done a very good job using brickwork and the like to recreate some echoes of its Georgian past, in fact the modern bits of it, which are internalised courtyards, are the most disappointing bit of it. And I mean, it would have been better to learn from the Mountjoy Square experience, I think. The ESB could have built a very impressive headquarters facing onto James Street East, and undone the damage that their predecessors did at an earlier stage. Today is Bloomsday, and Senator Moynihan's constituency has Usher's Island in it, I think. And it is interesting that the house where the dead is located is sitting there and was in danger of being redeveloped in the most inappropriate way, with structures out the back of it to be a student hostel. And I think we could do James Joyce some greater honour than to ruin that building. And curiously, right beside it, there was a twin house, and you can see that all that's left of it is the ground floor. And you know, an enlightened Dublin City Council would, in fact, think of a scheme to acquire both of those properties and to bring them back to a decent state of repair, and to do honour to James Joyce in that way. Could I also say that, you know, we can't get, sorry, conservation architecture is important, but I knew of one individual, a near neighbour of mine in Ranelagh, who had a conservation, a preserved structure building. And when he went to do a major job, bring it back into really good repair, the conservation architects from Dublin City Council told him that a major joist which ran front to back in the structure could not be removed and replaced by a new wooden joist or a steel joist enclosed likewise in the floor, but had to be kept in place, although it was rotten, with plating put on all the sides of this. Now, the point about I'm making is, this is hidden in the floor, nobody can see it. And I mean, that's the kind of excessive zeal which means that people will run away from conservation structures if they're told, you can't do sensible things to keep the building functional and in proper condition and usable. So when I say that I support this bill in its spirit completely, I do want to make one point clear, that you can have overzealous conservation approaches. The opposite to that, by the way, and I noticed there was a programme on RTE about houses. The owner of one house up near the Royal Canal Bank was told that she had to keep a window frame which was set the wrong way around as an economy measure in the 1950s. She had to keep the sash window on its side because the conservation architect thought that was a condition to allowing her refurbish the house, which was falling down, by the way, in its entirety. So having said that, I am a huge fan of conservation of buildings. I'm a huge fan of local authorities taking planning authorities taking their jobs seriously and remedies being there. And I take all the points that have been made in this debate thus far. But I don't want to bring into being a regime which means that people will run away from conservation because the rules are so stacked against them that they find better things to do with the rest of their lives. Thank you.